Hello and welcome to the College Football Mafia Network. Bomb3r's Hit List is this show that we're doing. And we've done several different types of Wednesday shows. You know, our Big 12 Mafia, College Football Mafia. We've done some just interview type shows. This Hit List, as I introduced last week, these are just sort of drop-in shows. We don't have necessarily one news item to talk about, but we want to hear back from you guys. Tonight, I cannot tell you how good I feel about having Justin Coos from Coos Corner join my show. How we doing, Justin?
Doing great, Bomber. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, anytime, anything we can do, man.
With
It's a
me on the
small
show,
world.
with me on the show, maybe you should name it something besides Hit List. Maybe add one letter to the front of that.
Let's see. Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have to see, I guess. I want to appreciate.
Maybe by the end of the show, I'll be on that list.
No, never. Not for me, at least. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's a Wednesday night. As I said, we don't ever know what's going to happen on Wednesdays. Thursdays, sometimes we're going to do stuff. I think in the future we might do some Saturday stuff. But there's a live show tomorrow night, Goose, that you guys are recording.
Yeah, we're planning to do. I haven't advertised it yet, but I'm planning to do a live stream tomorrow night on my channel at about 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. I think Wild Ute and Moen from your show is going to join me, and we're going to debate a little bit about the whole Notre Dame situation. I kind of disagree with those guys on the whole Notre Dame thing, and I think it'll be a fun discussion.
Oh, I can't wait for it. And it's something that I think everybody should tune in. Oh my gosh, Justin Lucas, the man, the machine. Justin Lucas. I want to introduce you to Justin from Coos Corner. Two Justins on the same show.
How you doing, Justin?
Good. How are you?
Nice
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
He's the one that we've been using for the Inside the Beltway in the Carolinas news.
Gotcha.
That's what he's really helped us with, Justin. So, and I would encourage you, Justin Lucas, man, anything you can do on Coos Corner would be awesome too. I know you're really into it. That stuff you provided to Greg today was fantastic. Just wanted to do a quick shout out to Greg Flugar, Peek Around the Corner. Justin helped him out with some documents, but the show was on point, just as they always are. Greg, thank you very much for all you do for the community. And then we might have a couple more joining us. I've got invites out to several people. Just so everybody knows, this Wednesday show, it's going to be kind of a hodgepodge depending on who can be here. Obviously, we have a show with Danielle Kelly and Jen Santee that we talk Florida State, and that's always fun. But tonight we're going to be talking about a really cool topic, and that's this Super League idea and how that's going to be growing. When I first put out the invitation for the show for everybody, it was set up as Q&A, and we're going to get to that. But just in the last 3 hours, an article popped up in The Athletic. I think there's a couple others out there. The one I saw was in The Athletic about a Super League. And I don't know how people feel about that. All three of us, I'm sure, are going to have different ideas about how that would look. I'm hoping Rock and Ramp might be able to join us at the end of the show. But anyways, let me get to a little business here. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here. Make sure you follow all of us on Twitter. Go to Coos Corner, subscribe to his channel. Watch his show tomorrow night. What time was that again?
8:30 Eastern.
8:30 Eastern. So no conflict on this side. Everybody go and watch Coos Corner tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern. Follow us all on Twitter. Turn on your notifications on Twitter and on YouTube. And lastly, I really encourage everybody to subscribe to this channel. College Football Mafia Network is several series of shows that we're going to do. And then we have of course, all our shorts. And I got to plug Wild Ute University. Justin, since you've been doing this stuff with us, what do you think about the Wild Ute University stuff?
I've seen several of the videos. I think I've seen the Clemson one, I believe, which was put out not too long ago. Very informative, and they go very in depth on how each university may be appealing to the different conferences.
Right. Well, it's very true. You're absolutely right. For some reason, I'm having trouble sharing my screen. That didn't work. Oh, here we go. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. I'm not perfect. We're going to add to the stage. So what we're describing here is these Coos Corner has, 3 videos now? Or is it just 2?
Just 2 for now, yeah.
Okay. And then we have Wild Ute University. Everybody knows about those. Just really quick to give a preview of a few of them. We had Washington State, Oregon State to the Big 12. And then Miami, North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State to the Big 10. If you haven't seen those videos after this show was on tonight, go watch them. And they're not very long. You can get through all of them in an hour. And you're going to be smarter than anybody else in your office, I promise, tomorrow. And then, of course, we have members-only videos. I think right now the members-only videos we have is Moen Rants. I'm not even going to hint what that's about, but Moen, as everybody knows, is fantastic at what he does. And it's Moen Rants, members-only video. There's a Coos Corner video on here for could Miami land in the Big 12 and would they fit? That's another big one. How did that go, Justin?
I did not see that one.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Coos. How did the video go when you recorded the Miami to the Big 12 video?
It went well. I've got a spread. I put a spreadsheet up and kind of showed some different data points,
right?
Regarding TV viewerships and things like that. Miami versus the median in the Big 12.
Okay.
So it went good. I think people will find it. I don't want to give it too much of it away, but I think they'll enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate the work in your channel. Obviously, you were around before I was. I just want to, again, tip my hat to everything you've done. And, man, it's a great community we have out here in this creator group, and it's only getting stronger. Anyway, one last thing about this members-only area. There's only 3 videos, I think, that are locked up. The rest are open for anybody to go watch. I would encourage everybody to subscribe to the channel, though, because the videos that come out and they're locked up for 2 weeks, again, you'll be smarter than your neighbor for an entire 2 weeks. So I encourage everybody to join, become a member of the Big 12 Mafia Network. I'm going to run a video of how you can join us in that regard, and then we'll get to the news. If I can pop it.
Want to become a member of the College Football Mafia family? Simply select the Join button from our homepage. There are several options with their own unique benefits to choose from. You can also set yourself to auto-accept gifted membership by selecting the gift settings options as shown.
And by the way, we're already off to a great start. We've got our first gifted membership. That would be Sergeant Pickles, who's a member and a contributor on Big West Mafia on Monday nights at 8 Eastern. He gifted a membership to, normally Moen would do this, but I think I can look. Immaculate was gifted a membership. Immaculate, obviously, has been a contributor on our show. It's great to see you out there, Immaculate. And please, again, you know to enjoy those videos. I'd encourage you to thank Sergeant Pickles for giving that to you. And man, let's just keep the thing going. All right. It's going to be tough because I'm the only one sort of doing videos, marking comments and also moderating. So if it starts to lag, you guys can jump in on top of me, okay?
No problem.
All right. All right. First of all, let's start with the news of the day. So let me bring up this article that popped up right before we got going. The title of it is, let me bring it up, add it to stage. I'll show you the link. So this was the Athletic article, and you went through this. Did you have time to go through this, Coos?
I did briefly. There's a few dots I need to connect still, but yeah, I went through most of it.
Well, if there was one thing that stood out to you, what would that be?
Well, for me, let me go big picture first. Big picture,
sure.
That at least there is a group of people outside the Big Ten and the SEC that are actually trying to do something,
right,
to fix it, to fix college football. Now, it's probably not going to get any legs, not going to gain any steam, but at least they're trying.
Right.
Now, from a more finite view, as a West Virginia fan, Gordon Gee, the president of our university, is part of the group.
Right. I saw that. He was headliner at the beginning of the article.
And he coincidentally and simultaneously is also part of the College Football Playoff Board of Managers.
Right.
And the College Football Playoff Management Committee doesn't seem to like this idea too much. So there seems to be maybe some conflict there between his two roles there. I don't know. And I also found it interesting, which I don't want to get too far ahead, but I found it interesting that the conference Gordon Gee is in doesn't seem interested in it either. So
isn't that interesting?
Touch on that later. Yeah.
Yeah. He represents obviously the Big 12 in both the management committee and, these other discussions. To have him out there saying, yeah, I don't know. I found that to be quite interesting. Really quick, I'm going to put up this so everybody can see it. Let me make sure that that is scrolling. Please hit the like button from King Spleen, one of our members. Hit the like button. If you don't like the show, you'll learn to like it later. Okay. Okay, Justin, Lucas, did you get a chance to read this article today?
I did, and the thing that stood out to me was somewhere in there, if I remember correctly, they mentioned how part of the reason that the CFP negotiations were accelerated was in part to I don't know what the word would be, but to stymie this idea.
Right.
And I found that very interesting because obviously they seem to be worried about it gaining traction, and I don't think the networks particularly like the idea of such a large group of schools, quote unquote, breaking off. So I found it interesting that they that it obviously influenced the process of the CFP negotiations that wrapped up last month.
Yeah. Now, again, that's a great point. I'm going to bring this down so everybody's now got the title of the article. I posted the link in the comment section. You guys are welcome to go and read it. We always encourage people to go look at the source material. But as we're talking about this, my reservations, and they're pretty simple, is if you can get enough schools to represent roughly 2/3 of all of college football, there's a bigger chance that you're able to pass something, which is where the 80 number comes in, right? But the difference is if you go 80, how much of a haircut are the Big Ten and the SEC willing to take for the homogenization, the collectivization of this new league? Because it would have to happen. They would be willing, they must have a willingness to lose some of their money to share it out to these other schools. There's that. And then the second thing is relegation, which is huge in England, and Champions League and all that other stuff, and in soccer in Europe. Relegation's been there for like 70 years, right? And you're talking about all the way down to city club teams. If they play well enough, they could end up top of the heap. Manchester City started like that. So relegation in college football, could you imagine 1 year? Well, we'll say it right now. Washington State and Oregon State have been relegated. For all intents and purposes, they have been relegated.
Mm-hmm.
What is the chance that they could climb their way back to the very top, considering all the other competition, if, let's say, the number was 60? I mean, is that even possible?
No. I don't think the idea is for it to be achievable. I think the idea is to satisfy antitrust concerns.
Right.
Because it's maybe not meant to be achievable, but you have to have a process by which someone could hope to get into the top tier.
Do you agree with that, Coos?
I do. And I like one thing I did like about the proposal, and if I understood it correctly, is the relegation is done, though, by winning on the field, wasn't it? It wasn't done based on the size of your school and where you happen to be and all of that. So that part of it I like.
Right.
The relegation you're speaking to, Bomber, that's happened to Oregon State and Washington State was just because of who they are, because where they're located.
Right.
That's the problem I got with the current system.
Right.
At least this new system, you earn your spot unless you're one of the top 70 that's already in the Power 5.
So let's talk about this from a mechanical standpoint. Just want to make sure everybody knows what we're talking about. All three of us are right, by the way. There's no one right answer. But the relegation that, as it's currently constructed in this, it's 10 teams in this article, and I'll go back to it in a second. 10 teams would rotate out if they're in the bottom of those 80 schools. And the best 10 teams, however you do it, with a mini playoff or whatever, the best 10 teams in the lower division, essentially, would then go up to the upper division. What I'm saying is that 10 schools, could you imagine that trade going, and let's be generous and say, it only happens once every 3 years. For those schools to climb up and stay at the top for 2 or 3 years, long enough to then be promoted, costs so much money. And the loss of resources to the 10 schools that drop out and that's why I use Washington State and Oregon State in this example.
Mhm.
Say they were teams 78 and 74. They would have lost all that funding. It's basically a whole 10x difference in payout. And
Yeah.
I just
And
don't know how 10 schools could compete in that regard.
part of the problem with relegation in college athletics is that college administrators budget out so long because they have certainty, or they think they have certainty on how much money they're bringing in. And if you throw in relegation, if you get relegated, your budget's going to go way down and maybe not be what your benchmarks had it as before you were relegated. So I think that's one of the reasons why people are skeptical. And probably rightfully so. But I personally think that it's the best, one of the best ideas I've heard of out of a bunch of bad ideas. I'm not saying this is a great idea, but
Right.
at least someone is thinking and thinking for themselves and not just trusting the Big Ten and the SEC to come up with whatever they're coming up with in a dark smoke-filled room.
Yeah, there are parts of it. There are parts of it I like and parts of it I don't like. And at least it's getting some conversation started.
Right.
If they're willing
That's
to
true.
sit down at the table, which some of them have not been, if they're willing to sit down at the table and at least listen, maybe they can all come up with something better and greater by at least listening and talking about this thing.
Look, I like the conversation part of this. This is how
Mhm.
schools like North Carolina State, BYU, and West Virginia are going to stay competitive. Something like this would help all three of our schools. So I don't think anybody's afraid of the Super League idea as an idea. The problem is going to be, and again, I use European soccer as the exemplar. Those cities are devastated. Those cities that have teams, I mean, it just rips the heart out of the community, which is why when they tried the Super League over there, in 4 days, it died.
Yeah.
In 4 days from the public outcry.
Wow.
And that's tribalism, right?
Yeah.
That's visceral. Imagine what they would try to do in college football. We're not talking about SMU or Washington State or Oregon State getting left out. We're talking about you could have a Purdue. You could have Ole Miss.
Well,
have a bad year and be done, right?
Well, I think the proposal is that the 70, because SMU is going to be a Power 4 member starting in July, that the 70 plus Notre Dame would never be relegated.
Right.
And that that just the 80 after the top 70 would be the ones that could face relegation. So, but then again, I still don't think that it appeal to those schools because they're already strapped for cash, and a relegation model probably makes that even worse. I would think, because there's, although would this idea increase the pool of money? Like if you take everyone's media rights and you put it under one umbrella, there's an argument to be made that you could increase the value of your media deal, and so maybe that's one way to generate more money for everybody. But then again, you also run into the problem that the Big Ten and the SEC would probably have to accept less money, and I don't think they're in the generous mood at the moment.
Yeah, and that's, to me, the way this would not be a profit-sharing model where everybody shares the profit evenly. My understanding was there would be some tiered profit-sharing models or levels, however you want to word it. So the schools like the Minnesotas and the Indianas and the Marylands and the Purdues may get less money, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think those schools would be more likely to push back against something like this. Whereas in Ohio State, and Michigan, and Alabama, they're probably okay with it because they're probably going to get top of the line money either way, right? So, but it's the schools at the bottom of those leagues that I think, when I say at the bottom, I mean as far as a brand value perspective, I think they're the ones that could get hurt the most by a proposal like this. And that's probably why, and that's the majority of the conferences, right? Majority of your teams aren't the Ohio States and the Michigans. It's the bottom tier. And if you get most of those guys who don't want to play ball, then they're not going to play ball.
Even something like, even if this doesn't pass, at a certain point, you have to think that those schools you listed off, Maryland, Rutgers, Purdue, Indiana, not football powers. I mean, even if this doesn't come into place or anything like it, you cannot convince me that 10 years down the line, Ohio State is going to be okay getting the same amount of paycheck as Maryland, which is the case right now. So I think either way, there's going to be some sort of unequal revenue distribution in these conferences if conferences continue to exist. Because I don't think that the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States of the world, even under a conference, would be okay giving the same amount of money to Vanderbilt or to Indiana or to Purdue. So
really quick before we continue, I want to make sure everybody knows we're going to be doing an after show tonight for the first time on our Discord server. The reason I'm looking over here is I'm trying to find the link. So everybody, here we go. It's this one. Let's see. There it is. So everybody can join an after show whenever we end, and I'm not sure when we're going to end. We will be going on Discord for probably about a half hour. Here's the link to do that. I encourage everybody to join. And it's going to be a talk bat session. It's going to be you guys talking to us rather than us leading into any discussion. It'll be a lot of fun. I want to introduce everybody to our Discord server. And we're trying to create a community here that everybody can participate, not just the people on YouTube, not just the people on Twitter. So it's your chance to talk back. And I encourage everybody to take that link and join. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, so let's get to first. Let me get some shout outs. We've been around 50 for a little bit, and I want to make sure everybody knows that I appreciate them being here. Buckshot Kid was the first again. Oh, hey, at the College Football Mafia. Thank you, Buckshot Kid. We've got Friends Call Me Sean. Rock Chalk. I'm not going to read all these because my mouth isn't going to say them all. Rock Chalk is here. Let me just scroll down more. Daniel Kopcha in the house. Good to see you, Daniel. By the way, all these people I'm mentioning right now are members of the College Football Mafia family. So I really encourage you also to become a member. Go Big 12 from 7-Up. Exactly right. Good to see you here, by the way. Don in Kansas again. It's Coos. Another one, Daniel Gygax says, hey, Coos, did you have any damage? He says.
I did not. I'm in the southern part of the state, and it missed me. We had there were some tornadoes that hit West Virginia yesterday is what he's referring to.
Yeah, let's see. Moen mentioned them last night. They were under tornado watch as well, which is interesting where his house is. Let me get to a few more. Scott Schrader, another member, says 70-team Super League with 7 to 10-team conferences. What a crazy proposal. Let's just talk about that number really quick. What is your perfect number, Coos?
For a Super League?
Yes.
Probably 48 makes the most sense to me.
Okay. So 4 12-team regional divisions.
Yeah. Something like that. I just think 70 is too many.
Right. That's awesome. What do you think, Justin?
I agree with 48, but I think you're going to have a pathway for you. I don't think personally that you can just get 48 in a room and shut the door on everybody else.
Right.
Because what's going to happen after that is the schools that did not get in the room, they're going to get a lawyer and they're probably going to sue for antitrust violations. So it's really tricky, and good thing that I don't have to be the one to figure it out.
Yeah, and a team like mine, West Virginia, at 48, we'd be at risk of potentially getting left out. So I wouldn't necessarily love 48, but from a practical standpoint and trying to run the conference and making it make sense, and the most competitiveness, I think it makes the most sense. But you're right. For me personally, as a fan, I want complete chaos so that my team don't get left out. That's what I want.
There we go.
But
go ahead, Justin.
I was gonna say, but that's just a fan talking.
Let's move to another comment here from King Spleen. One of our newer members says, love the collegiate diversity on the show and fact that you all want the best for the sport. That's a tip of the hat to all of us. I totally agree. Thank you very much, King Spleen. Chiefs fan, sort of following up on what you just said, Coos. Will West Virginia be included in the 80-team Super League? Absolutely. If it's 80 teams, there is no doubt, zero doubt that West Virginia's left out.
Yep, and it's the one. If he's talking about the one that was proposed today in this article, then yes, it would basically be all 70 Power 5 teams, right? And Notre Dame plus 10 more based on their success the previous year.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, Joe, actually, I never gave my opinion when we were talking about that a second ago. I think 80 is too many but I think 48 is too small. In my mind, it needs to be closer to at least 2/3. And there's 130 teams, roughly
60.
40 teams in a conference. That's where it gets tough, right? So 60, again, 64 to 68, I think gets enough randoms in as well that it works, but I don't know. We'll
There's a way to, all you have to do, I've already found a solution to this. Take all the power conference schools,
right?
remove SMU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. There's your Super League.
Okay. I love it.
64 teams.
64 teams, I think all three of our schools would be in on
Maybe 65 if Notre Dame, but it's 64 to 65 teams. Either way.
Right.
You can't leave Notre Dame out. They're too special.
Don't even get us started about that, Coos. Let's see here. Don Scruggs in the house. What's up, y'all? SEC fan. Don, I love seeing you. Thank you very much for being here representing the SEC. If I remember Don, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, he is a Texas fan. Make sure I got that right, Don. Check me if I'm wrong, but we've discussed actually him representing us in a little bit in the more southeastern region, the SEC. That'll be a lot of fun. So, Don, I appreciate you being here. Illini Ted, another one of our members, says, "I hate the idea of a Super League. Part of what makes college football great is conference rivalries, but also fighting over which conference is best." And you're talking billions of dollars answering that second question.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Oh, Coy is in the house. Two Masta is in the house. Great to see you guys. Let me get Two Masta there. Friends call me Sean. Another fan. Boy, all you guys are members. Boy, that warms my heart. You guys are all members. Article is a joke. FSU, UNC, Clemson leaves the ACC just to reunite with the same teams in their new Super League 10 team division, talking about the regions. Makes absolutely no sense. Strictly fantasy league stuff. Any replies to that?
Well, I don't think that it'd be the same 10 because there'd only be 10 teams in this proposal. There'd only be 10, and I can imagine that if this was to come to being, the 10 in their pod would be Florida State, UNC, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Virginia, NC State,
UCF probably, Miami.
UCF probably, Miami.
That's definitely in
Florida.
There,
yeah. Right. So you probably cheer out all the lower tier of the ACC as it currently is constructed, and they'd go somewhere else in some other division.
Well, and so let's talk about that. The regionality thing is real. There's
and this would help.
Well, kind of. If that's the case, then the Western Division would always be a touch easier than, say, the Northeast.
Yeah.
So you'd have to spread out your goodness. What we should actually do, Coos, and maybe you and I could work on this for a show, is actually by division. Say we were going to divide it by division and region, what those regions would actually look like, because you would have to have schools outside of necessarily the geographic center. And I'm not sure how that would go over for people. It might not be practically possible.
We need to sit down one day and get a map out and map this thing out.
Right.
And I like that idea. I've actually been tracking the same way. So let's do that.
Let's talk to Moen and Ute, and let's put something together.
I like it.
All right. That would be awesome. I like it too. That's because Justin's in here getting us thinking well.
We need an attorney in the room.
We do, yes.
Make us smarter.
Oh, no, we already did that one. Let's see. Grayson Ganoush, not a member, but good to see you here. He says, at friends, call me Sean. It makes a lot of sense. More than a few schools, brands don't want to leave their rivalries and become what Maryland and Nebraska have turned into brand-wise. They're talking about in and outside of regions. What do you guys think about that?
I think Maryland and Nebraska love their setup currently, so they're getting paid, even if they're taking the losses. So I don't know what they've turned into brand-wise.
Yeah.
What do you think, Goose?
Brand-wise, I understand what he's saying. But again, at the end of the day, it's all about the Benjamins. And I'm not sure that Nebraska's really given up any brand. They've not been winning, but Nebraska's still a strong brand. I mean, they still sell out their games. Their fans are still just as passionate as they've ever been, just more pissed off, I mean, but Nebraska's still a pretty strong brand in my opinion. Maryland.
I didn't even know Maryland was a brand.
Yeah, I mean, they're okay. I mean, they're not terrible. They're not Nebraska from a brand. But I don't know that it really, and I do think going to the Big Ten hurt Maryland a little bit. I thought they were much better fit in the ACC.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I guess Maryland saw something. Maybe they saw the writing on the wall.
Maryland left.
I don't know.
Because they were seriously cash strapped. I mean, they had just cut 8 sports, and if I remember correctly, the president said at the press conference that the reason why he moved and he wanted to move was because he never wanted to have to look a student athlete in the eye and cut a sport because he didn't have enough revenue. And Delaney, whatever his name was, came calling with a bunch of cash and they said, "Yep, sign us up."
Yeah, makes sense.
Some really good comments out here. I'm going to get to as many as I can. Let me really quick explain how the comments work. Anybody can leave a comment. I'll try to flag it if I see it. The conversation flows, so you can sort of flow through with us. If you want to become a member of the College Football Mafia Network, just go to the main YouTube page, hit the join button right in the middle of the page, and then pick which option you'd like to use. But man, we love to have you as a member here. Otherwise, if it's not a super chat, it's not a member chat, I also take, people, you've already seen it tonight, other people's comments if they're, really important. Timothy Green, always in here representing West Virginia. Let's go Mountaineers. This is always a fantastic and informative show.
What's up, Timothy?
Good to have you here.
Timothy's on every show that I do and every show that I go on. He's there.
Is that right? Well, he's one of our classics.
He's loyal,
as well.
man. He's loyal.
He is very much. Let's see. Hey, Johnny Bard, FSU 91 says, those who resist today might have nothing tomorrow. And I would add to that, rip Pac-12. Right? Is it better to have a smaller piece of a larger cake rather than a large piece of a very, very small cake, right? And that's what the Pac-12 did. They froze themselves out, didn't grow. They weren't progressive, frankly, because they're prideful. You know what the Bible says about prideful anyway.
Pride comes before the fall.
Yeah, I don't bring religion into the show, but I like to use axioms sometimes, and that's definitely one I support. Going back to some of the comments at the beginning of the show, Dan Miter, one of our members, says they're just floating that idea out there to let everyone talk about it. Sure, it could happen, but not for now. That's in my mind, Dan, except for I would say it's not sure it could happen. I am almost 100% sure eventually something will happen once all the settled lawsuits after House versus NCAA. I mean, all the lawsuits occur. The NCAA itself is going to be bankrupt, and it's how much they're willing to pay athletes. What do you guys think about that? The timing, at least.
No doubt. I mean, it's all about trying to find a solution where everybody can afford to pay for what's coming without antitrust lawsuits, which,
right.
Justin mentioned earlier. It's all wrapped into one bow here. Congress is not going to help them out. They realize that. So they said, we've got to figure out another way. And I think this is a select group of people's attempt to find that other way, led, by, West Virginia's president as one of the members. So, kudos for at least trying, but I don't think it's going to get anywhere.
I like
and
that.
A for effort.
Yeah, actually, I love what you said there, Justin Coos, because at the end of the day, if you're not growing and adapting, you're going to die. ACC reacted way too late by bringing in SMU. Frankly, SMU was a reach. They needed their additional money to give to their members. But it's out of the geographical region with no bridge schools. There's no way to travel east to west without basically flying the length of the country, unless you do these games that they talked about doing basketball in Dallas. So how does Stanford and Cal make any money? It's just they waited too long, way too long.
Yeah,
they should have taken West Virginia when they had their chance. They should have taken UCF when they had their chance.
You know who the biggest opponent of bringing West Virginia in was?
Who?
Maryland.
Really?
One of the loudest voices in the room. One of the loudest voices in the room against bringing in West Virginia, and then they leave. Now
That
they
is
weren't the only
ironic.
one, but they were definitely one of the loudest voices, along with Virginia and
Duke,
I think Duke. Yeah, basically, like
The nerdy schools.
the academic elitists in the room.
Fair enough.
Didn't think we were good enough.
Yeah, it was ugly. Let's ask NC State here. What did you think about that idea? What was that 10, 12 years ago when West Virginia left the Big East and they basically got left out of it in addition to the ACC? Justin Lucas, what did you think about that?
In hindsight, I think it probably would have been a good idea to add West Virginia. Certainly, considering, football, they have a football tradition, and I think the ACC needs more of that, definitely. But trying to get some of the schools sold on West Virginia academically is a real, real tough task. When Louisville was brought in, that wasn't super easy. If you listen to the former UNC Chancellor, Holden Thorpe, was the chair of the ACC board at the time. When Maryland left and they were deciding who would replace Maryland, it was Louisville or UConn. Those were the two factors. And you had the nerdy schools pushing for UConn, and you had the football schools, Florida State and Clemson, pushing for Louisville because Louisville had some semblance of football power at the time. So, yeah, it would have been great for football, I think, but I don't think you're going to get Virginia and Duke and Maryland to ever think of football first.
I want to oh, sorry, Justin, go ahead and finish.
Oh, no, you can. Oh, I do want to say one thing, though. Go Pack, because it's a big week for us.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
I think
By the way,
you mean the next 7 days is going to be critical.
I have now found my favorite non-West Virginia basketball player.
Who's that?
DJ Burns, man. Anybody that can't have fun watching that young man play basketball has got something wrong with him.
He's a great human being.
Really quick, I want to shout out to Greg Flugar, the Godfather. Appreciate you being here, Greg, in the audience. Obviously, you can always join, but I know you and the Little General are always really busy. But we appreciate you being here. Make sure you leave us a question because I'd love to. Your show today was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. All right, let's get to some more comments. If you guys have something you want to say outside of what were sort of my line, just interrupt me and tell me.
Well, do you want to get to your super chats?
I believe there's only the one, right?
Was there?
Yeah, I think.
You're right.
We had
My
a
bad.
membership. No, it's okay.
My bad. Those were all
okay.
members' chats.
It was a member.
My bad.
Daniel Gygax is responding to Rock Chalk. He says 100% agree. It would require a pay cut from the SEC and Big to work, and no way they are giving up money for the good of college football. That's my thinking. 100%. Now, I do see a way it could happen, though. And I haven't put it together on a tweet or anything. My idea would be to go back to the idea of using a private equity, say Endeavor, buy the whole shooting match. If they bought the whole organization, the CFP playoff, wrote a check for $3 billion, they could dictate how everybody participates.
Private equity is a dangerous business, though.
Yeah,
because if private equity means you're relinquishing ownership to like another entity,
right?
And they may not always make decisions that you like, and that's the reason why I'm sort of perplexed by Florida State is thinking of private equity, because what if the person managing it says, we don't like this sport, it's not making us any money, cut it. That's not good. And I don't think Florida State or anybody who goes with private equity would like it.
I think that's fair. You want to say anything about private equity, Coos?
The only thing that, based on what reading I've done on the private equity piece, is the only thing because I thought the same thing as you at first. And then I read an article. I can't remember the gentleman's name who wrote it. But he basically said the only thing that really would work from a private equity standpoint is if they take their merchandising and that kind of thing and let private equity firms handle that side of it, but not necessarily everything. There would only be certain arms of the athletic department that they would handle. stuff that they can make money on, basically, and
Right.
everything else would still be up to the university,
Gotcha.
the athletic department. But again, how much money would there be enough money in that for
To
a
make it
private equity firm?
worthwhile.
Right. I don't see it personally, but now maybe there's more in it than I realize. Because it got me thinking, heck, that's the way West Virginia does really well in that arena. We're one of the top 20 schools in the country in merchandising and marketing. So our fans love to buy T-shirts, man, and that makes a lot of that. Maybe that's something West Virginia could take advantage of. But I don't want it to come to that, man. Let's hopefully they can figure out a way to fix this thing without bringing in private equity.
Here's something that I've been thinking of. And this is like, I'm not trying to get too personal here or into my likings, but if NC State won the national title in basketball, would that make it harder for UNC to separate from NC State with the Board of Governors? I think it absolutely would.
Why?
Because if NC State is the defending national champion in one of the two revenue sports, I do not think the Board of Governors would let UNC by themselves do something to overshadow that or to leave NC State behind. I really don't, because number one, the Board of Governors is already stacked with NC State aligned people. And if NC State wins a national championship in a revenue sport, and they're the defending national champions, I don't think they'd allow it. I don't. So if I'm UNC Power Brokers, I'm rooting like, you know what, for NC State to lose this weekend.
Really quick, let me get to another comment here. We actually got, oh my goodness, Expedition Greg has been here for 2 months. Thank you, Expedition Greg. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I don't have Moen Sounder, so I apologize about that. But definitely, let's get ready to rumble. I like to say that one. Hey, everyone, is what he says. Thanks for being here, and I really appreciate your loyalty, Greg. So I just forgot what I was going to say because I wanted to get to Greg's comment. Basically, the NC State deal. So they win the national championship. They're an outlier at this point, right? They've won it recently, but where's their football been? Realignment has been 100% about football.
Their football is quite a bit better than UNC's. I mean, like UNC is not being added to the SEC or the Big Ten for football.
No. They're buying a brand. I understand that.
Right.
But NC State can't say the same.
Right, but I think, I mean, if NC State is the national champion in a revenue sport, just thinking about these people that are going to make these decisions, because it's not going to be just UNC Board of Trustees, it's going to be the Board of Governors. If NC State is the national champion in one of the revenue sports, I do not see how UNC can go to them and say, we want more money because we're more relevant and we don't care what NC State has to say about it. I mean, the Board of Governors, I don't think they'd allow that to happen.
I do think it will give NC State a little bit more leverage, but at the end of the day, I don't think it would be enough to change the result, whatever the result would be.
The Board of Trustees at these universities in North Carolina are so weak. I mean, they have very little power. Right. They're almost purely advisory boards. I mean, when you can't even file a lawsuit by yourself, I mean, that seems like a pretty basic thing to do. You're an institution; you should be able to file your own lawsuit if you want to, but when you can't. So I'm not trying to take over the video chat. I've been thinking about that because I think it is a factor, and I think it would weigh on their minds. Like NC State's showing that they belong, I think is what I'm trying to say here, and whether that would in fact impact their thinking.
Justin, let me just interrupt you there. I think that's you said I don't want to take over the video chat. That's what we do here, right? Generally, unless we're long on time on an answer or something, or something pops up in the news, your guys' opinions is why you're here, right? So, and you're in the heart and soul of North Carolina, so everything is right in front of you. You do have a rooting interest in North Carolina. There's nothing wrong with that, but you are smarter to see the bigger picture. I find it remarkable that you said, I hope they lose this weekend, because That's crazy to me. But
No,
in
no,
the
no,
bigger
no, 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 no.
picture,
No,
Go
I
ahead.
think UNC's power brokers should be rooting for NC State to lose this weekend, because
right.
if NC State wins it, I mean, they'd have so much political capital in the state of North Carolina. I mean, it'd be off the charts.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
But
I
didn't
thought
North
you
Car-
were saying
but
that.
didn't North Carolina just win one like 2 years ago?
They made it to the national championship
I
game.
think
They
the
didn't
NC
win it.
won one
They
in
didn't
a
win
while.
it. Okay, I was
They
thinking they did.
last won it in, I think they last won it in 2016 or
Yeah, it was-
2017.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think.
8 years ago.
That's a couple years ago to me, but okay.
Yeah.
All right.
A couple years ago, they played Duke in
Okay.
the Final Four.
Okay.
Let's get to some more of these comments. First of all, I want to get to this one from Greg Flugar, the godfather of realignment talk, in my opinion. College football peek around the corner. Greg Flugar says, I have a better chance of becoming a swimsuit model than this Super League from being created anytime soon. Greg, I'm with you. I just think it's an idea that's got a long way to go.
He also wants you to check your DMs, by the way.
Oh, does he?
Yep. He
All
just
right,
dropped
give me-
that comment in the chat.
Oh, there he is right there. Let's see. Oh, yes, I do have that one marked, Greg. Let's go ahead and move to it. There's a comment that came out. Where the hell did that go? From Matt Baker. There was a report, and David McKenzie was the other one. David McKenzie is the one that we're talking about here. Let me bring this up because this came out today. And since Greg's here, I'm just going to read parts of it. It's really important behind this current comment. You guys are going to disappear for a moment. I hope that's okay. So this is a tweet from David McKenzie. I had this marked, just hadn't made it here yet. Let me put the post in the comment section so you guys can go to it yourselves and educate yourselves. Here we go. Did it go? Sweet. All right. ACC versus Clemson. Odd skirmish over service. The ACC's lawsuit against Clemson University in Charlotte had some small but interesting action today. The first filing pertains to service on Clemson, meaning serving them with papers, a seemingly routine matter that was evidently has become a point of contention. The second filing is a motion to seal, lock it down so nothing goes out in public. We don't get to see what's happening, submitted by the ACC to keep the details of its agreement with ESPN confidential. We've known about that seal charge for weeks. That motion appears to be a carbon copy of the motion to ACC versus FSU. Intriguingly, the service of process issue exposes some unusual tactics. Reportedly, process servers encountered resistance at Clemson on March 21st. They were initially refused service at the Clemson General Counsel's office, a highly uncommon maneuver for a major institution. About an hour and a half later, process servers then served the South Carolina Attorney General at his office in Columbia. That's crazy. Whether this second service attempt was preemptive measure or a strategic response to Clemson's actions is unclear. And then it goes down, and I'll let you read the whole argument. But this is the actual document, and you can see up here in the corner there's this signing piece that they really struggled to get somebody to get in there and sign it. So I would encourage everybody to read the article. Greg tried to get to it on his show. Let me just cover this last. I guess we'll go here. These last two sentence paragraphs. Meanwhile, the ACC's motion to seal appears to be substantively identical to the one it filed ACC versus FSU. Notably, however, is how the ACC includes two exhibits, portions of the ACC ESPN media rights agreement and portions of the agreement related to the ACC network. They keep suing and countersuing, guys. This process is getting a little crazy, isn't it?
Not for lawyers. I mean, they're making a lot of money. Though I will say on the serving thing, it took a little while for Clemson to serve the ACC as well. They filed something similar in Pickens County, an affidavit of service,
right?
And the Clemson's process server that they got to do it showed up at ACC headquarters at I think it was 11:30 in the morning, and the front desk told them that there was a meeting and that they could not take documents or something, and to come back later. And the process server came back at 2 o'clock, and they said, no, we're not doing it. And so eventually it actually took the process server going to the deputy commissioner of the ACC's house and serving him that way. So I don't know. I don't quite know what's going on. Maybe they're trying to preserve jurisdictional defenses like I can't be sued or sovereign immunity, something like that. But it is really interesting because the ACC tried to evade being served as well when Clemson filed their own lawsuit. But it's really interesting to me.
Go ahead, Kuz. You want to say something?
I just, to be honest with you, these legal filing things are, it makes my eyes gloss over, man.
You're not the only one.
I've got to have somebody like Justin on the show to explain that kind of stuff.
You
Or
do.
Doug Rohan or someone.
Absolutely. Really quick.
There should be a ruling soon too.
Let me and Justin actually just covered this, is how important to get these suits actually delivered and signed for.
Yeah.
But this paragraph right here I found interesting as I was just going over it again. While service disputes are typically routine matters, this time it clearly wasn't, and Clemson may have been positioning itself to raise jurisdiction and service objections in a motion to dismiss. Oddly, the first process server noted as follows, and there's additional notes. Can you answer that question, Justin?
Yeah, for sure. They are definitely trying to preserve jurisdictional arguments when they file a motion to dismiss, like we can't be sued in this jurisdiction in Mecklenburg County over this issue and only in Clemson. But in the Pickens County case, there was what was called a stipulation of service, which means that both parties agreed that Clemson had properly served the ACC. And there still has not been that in the Mecklenburg County case yet. So I think that that's probably what we're going to see. But it's really interesting. A process server's job can be interesting sometimes, because in that thing, in the document that they posted, it said that the ACC's process server drop serve documents, which basically means you just leave it there, even if they refuse.
Like, I've watched LA Law. I've watched Legal Eagles. I've watched all these legal things. I thought you actually, the joke is one person will hide so they can't get sued for like a divorce or something like that. Is there really a process that you just come in, leave it on a front desk and walk away?
You can do that, yes.
Wow.
It's not normal. It's not normal because most people take them. I mean, you can't hide forever. I
thought people could. I actually thought I'd heard that.
Well, not someone like Clemson University, like an organization like that, but it's really interesting. And I mean, because even in the ACC's motion to seal, they noted that usually you have to send a copy of your filings to the opposing side. And in the ACC's motion to dismiss, in motion to seal, they had a footnote like, there's no Clemson attorneys on record here in Mecklenburg County, so we're just going to CC them. We're just going to send the certificate over to the attorneys that Clemson had hired in South Carolina. So it definitely is probably some jurisdictional defenses that they're trying to keep intact on a motion to dismiss.
One final paragraph I want to read. It says, one notable aspect of the ACC ESPN agreement is its considerable length. The 2 pages offered, both of which were heavily redacted, on single-spaced and only include pages 84 and 85. Otherwise, there are reciprocal confidential agreements imposed on the ACC and ESPN in both arguments. So basically, they're tied to both. They can't go to one and not have the other have an action.
The length of the document of the ESPN agreement, I think it's like 163 pages and it's single-spaced. So
they only released a few pages, right? They didn't do the whole
right.
thing.
They only released like the confidentiality requirements part.
That's right.
The rest of it are sealed.
Let me get to it really quick. We've been here almost an hour. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is Bomb3r's Hit List. We go over the news. We're talking about this realignment idea of a super league. We want you to stick around for that because more of that conversation is coming. And then we also encourage you guys to follow both Justin and Kuz Corner on both YouTube and on Twitter, as well as the College Football Mafia show network and everything that goes with it. Follow it, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. I'm going to get another comment here from Bob Thompson. Let me bring it up so everybody can see this. I'm not sure everybody had time to see this, but Bob Thompson, as you guys all know, is a friend of the show. after the Super League of 80 teams was announced, Bob says, initial thoughts, 80 is way too many. That's what I've been saying a long time. The top 48 moving up and out from the current model would generate as much TV revenue as the top 80 because the matchups would be consistently better. Likely nothing happens till the end of the current conference CFP deals in 2030-ish. What do you guys think about that?
That's pretty much, I mean, I don't echo exactly what I said, but earlier when we were asking about the ideal number, that's why I said I think 48 makes the most sense because of the competitiveness aspect of it.
Right.
And once you get past that number, 49, 50, 51 brand, they're basically they're not much difference than team number 70. And that's not what networks want. They just don't. Networks want Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, USC, Michigan, Oregon. That's who they want. They don't want West Virginia. They don't want NC State. They don't want BYU. They don't want Virginia Tech. They don't want the team up north, up I-79 from Morgantown. I won't say their name. They don't want – anyway, you get my point.
I do. Yeah, I agree.
And it sucks. As you can tell, I'm not happy about it.
But as we're talking about 48 teams, another thing that Bob said on our show, he thinks while the 48 number might make most sense just from a numbers standpoint, there's some problems there because coming up with enough product to fill all the open time slots, 48 isn't big enough.
Right.
It has to be more because there's just too many time slots they have to fill on a week in, week out basis.
Great point.
So 48 isn't enough, people. 60 is pretty much ideal for all the hours. There's been some numbers and people put whole productions together to explain the difference in those numbers for the broadcast windows. But I've heard 60, 64 is almost perfect. So 48 is the nose in the air. We don't care about anybody else but ourselves, and I just don't think it carries enough. All right. Let's get to some more comments. By the way, this is a trick. If you want your comment to be read, please put my name in your comment, and I'm more likely to bring it because I like saying my own name. Daniel Gygax, one of our members, says, Bomber, it sounds like the current power conferences are protected. It's the G5 schools that will be in the promotion relegation schools. You guys disagree with that at all?
Nope.
Okay. Let's keep her going. Illini Ted, another one of our members, says this could trigger the P2 to just break off on their own and take more schools. Just be careful of pushing this, sharing the wealth too hard.
The Power 2, or whatever they call it, is going to do what they want to do regardless.
Right.
So I don't think they need to be worried about it.
I think that's very fair. I do. Let's see here. You want to add anything to that, Justin, before I move it? Okay.
I'm good.
Johnny Bard, by the way, Johnny, I saw your comment about Discord. It just takes some time. Just stick with us. It'll get better. I promise. We're not playing, Warcraft. This is going to be something different. We encourage you to stick around. After the show, we're an hour in. I want to make an announcement. So after the show, we're going to be doing a Discord, maybe half hour. At the bottom of this hour, I think another half hour will go, and unless something happens. And then we're going to do an after show on Discord. You're all invited. Let me post that link so that everybody knows what it is. Hang on one second. The Discord link. This is a permanent link, so don't be afraid that it's going to expire. If you run into troubles, please ask me, and I will walk you through it. Why isn't it copying? Judas Priest. Anybody else have a problem with you can Excel anymore? My goodness gracious. Copy.
Did I hear you say Judas Priest? I hadn't heard that.
I do. I say that all the time. That's my frustrated phrase.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it is.
I've heard other people do that, but it's been a while since I've heard it.
I'm an old person. You know that, Justin. I'm an old person.
I'm not that far behind you.
No, you're not. I know. This will be my last attempt.
Justin's a young buck.
Yeah.
I cannot get this to work. I will later. I promise I'll post the Discord link. I apologize. 2 minutes of dead air is not what I want. All right. Anyways, Johnny's comment here. ESPN and Fox need to adopt a multi-tier system to market best teams while leaving conferences intact. This realignment freak show needs to stop. Wow, I like the way you put that. What do you guys think?
Agreed on the last part.
Yeah, the first part I'm still trying to wrap my head around. ESPN and
Yeah.
Fox need to adopt a multi-tier system to market best teams
So
while leaving
basically,
conferences intact.
conferences would stay together, but you'd have Division I football, Division II football. Nothing changes at the NCAA level. They don't change the college football playoff setup. They just basically take the best teams on their own, keeping it inside the college structure, and play across. That's
Okay.
what he's talking about.
Okay,
Instead of it's destroying everything and rebuilding it, essentially.
gotcha. Well, that's kind of what most of us are afraid the Big 12, Big 10 and SEC are trying to do, right?
I agree. I think you're right. What do you think, Justin?
I don't quite know how you build a multi-tier system while leaving conferences intact. I mean, it seems like that would be a conflict there. I'm not sure how that would work.
It would be
Because
a
the
huge
conferences,
conflict.
right? Because the conferences have to be like members of the conference have to be on the same level. I mean, you can't have
Agreed.
two sets of rules, two sets of divisions within a conference. I'm not sure how that would work.
I completely agree with you guys. By the way, I found the link. I put it in the comment section. There you go. Everybody can click on that, join Discord, and after this show, we'll be able to talk a little bit more. And actually, you guys can talk back. That's actually the part I'm looking forward to. It's hard to do that in this format. It's possible because they're the carriers. They really could do whatever they wanted at this point, I think, if they had the support of everybody. Friends call me Sean. Dan, think UVA. See, he's replying to a post from Dan. Think UVA could be on the outside looking in. Think Clemson and NCSU, North Carolina State, has a better chance of joining UNC than UVA in the SEC. Do the math and then tell me what you think about that idea.
If SEC, yes, but I would not be surprised to see UVA in the Big Ten.
Right.
UVA to me seems like a Big Ten school anyway. I mean, they're a good fit for the ACC, but they would also fit in the Big Ten. I'm not sure I would think the SEC would rather have Virginia Tech than UVA, wouldn't they?
In my opinion, I think Virginia Tech, from a football standpoint, is the best they can get in that area.
I've been really surprised to see UVA's name keep popping up as like one of the top 4 or 5 teams. I'm like, other than some non-revenue sports and their academics, they're not bringing anything to the table. I mean, I don't really understand it, but maybe you, Justin, as an ACC guy, what is the fascination with UVA?
I think I don't know.
I
think UVA in part is valuable because Virginia Tech will do this too because they're in the same state. But Virginia is a valuable media market area, right. So I think that way too. And I also think that there is some value for the SEC. I think they want to improve their basketball products, and I think that's part of why UNC is so attractive beyond just being Carolina, the brand.
Right.
So I could see the basketball part being a part of it, but certainly the Virginia media market, whatever they call it,
right.
being
the DMA.
DMV,
right.
something like that.
Yeah, DMA is what it is. I don't remember also, Justin, so don't worry about it. There's something. I just had a comment. Here we go. So responding to Johnny Bard, and this is how the comments come, guys. So if I've missed your comment, I'm sorry about that. Johnny Bard is a member. He says multi-tier equals relegation. So let's define what relegation would mean. Strictly speaking, what he says is exactly right. If you have people all playing at the quote-unquote same level, and one subset of that sort of raises the bar because they have the support of Fox and ESPN and whoever, that in turn would codify 2 levels. You can still play across, but they would be competing for different championships. The relegation teams would be playing to win, to be promoted, and the schools in the second tier would be playing not to get relegated. So in my opinion, while he's strictly true, the devil's in the details. And I don't think the relegation part of it can work. I just don't see that.
I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
Well, are we done on this?
No, you can ask anything you want. Go ahead.
It's kind of tied in anyway.
Go ahead.
I've been going back and forth in my own mind over the last several months, and I keep changing my mind whether or not the Big 12 and the ACC should just tell the SEC and Big 10, see you later. Go do your own thing. We're just fine. At first, I used to think it would be a good idea because, like you mentioned earlier, Bomber, they need those teams for inventory. The networks do anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe it wouldn't cost them money to do that, and they could even hold their own championship. And I've had people say, but that championship wouldn't mean as much. Why would it? Why wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Does a Big 12 championship right now not mean something to us?
No, it means a lot.
So why would it not mean something to be the best team in both of those conferences? There's how many teams are in the NFL right now? 32?
Yep.
It's pretty cool to be the champion of that 32 team league, right?
Why would it basketball,
not be cool? Yeah. Why would it not be cool to be the best team in that 34 team, 30, whatever team it is, league?
It's the PR stuff. It's the PR stuff. It's the idea. It's not tangible. It's the fear that a graduate, say, of North Carolina State, not to pick on anybody, and the status at the ACC, they could go undefeated and still not make, well, it's not 4 anymore. They would make the 12 team. But an undefeated North Carolina State getting to that point, if they do it once and then go back to the way they've done it recently, doesn't really gain them anything. It was a flash on TCU. We'll have to see how they come out this year, right? So I agree with you, Coos. I think you're exactly right. I just don't know if there's another way to handle the conversation to sort of change what that perception is. Because right now, if let's just say UConn wins the basketball tournament, in my opinion, they could win 4 basketball tournaments and still not be invited to, say, the Big 12, the SEC, or the Big 10. The ACC, I think they would. But the ACC
I think they'll get invited to the Big 12. Brett Yormark wants UConn.
They do,
but I don't think the presidents do is the problem.
Yeah, no, he gained a lot of street cred with this last alignment phase, but I just don't think he has enough. They don't want to. Realignment's football.
I'd love that. As a West Virginia fan, I'd love to have UConn in the conference. I'll be honest with you.
Right, and I'm not afraid of you. I mean, I think UConn's great. I was cheering for him in the summer.
Yeah, I think if you give them more resources, they would be a much better program.
It's quite possible. What do you think, Justin?
We're talking about UConn specifically.
Yeah, sure.
I think UConn. I mean, their basketball program is a blue blood now, and I think that there is some value to that, but their football is just awful.
Right.
It's just terrible. So, I think that they would definitely be added to the ACC if the ACC was looking to add people right now. It'd be almost a no-brainer, in my opinion, because I think the ACC, and this is part of the reason why they're having issues now with the football schools, is the ACC is known for its basketball. I mean, they're excelling in the tournament and now. So I think that
they went all in basketball, the entire conference, except for Florida State and Clemson.
Right, and sure, it's great to be good in basketball, but basketball isn't what stirs the drink now.
That's right. Yep, I agree. We got a super chat from one of our best, and when I say best, I'm meaning in comparison. All the Mafia family people are fantastic. Great culture. Ryan Willie, for $5, who's also a member, gives us a super chat saying, do you think the ACC will implode before Calford and SMU join? So let's be very clear. SMU, Cal and Stanford, they have voting rights July 1st this year.
Right. And so SMU has voting rights July 1st. I think Stanford and Cal have to wait until August 2nd.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, another month. I apologize. Okay, so August. Thank you for correcting me on that. I thought they were all together. So, but what that means is it changes the voting dynamic in the conference. Right now, it takes 4 schools to protest to upset any type of realignment. As long as they can have 4, they can't really do anything. You add 3 more schools that are desperate to stay relevant, they're going to join the other half. And now Florida State, UNC, et al., whoever else wants to go out, are going to be locked in. And maybe a lot harder to get out than Florida State and Clemson.
Yeah. And it's April 3rd and July 1st is not that far away. So I don't think that the ACC implodes before July 1st. I don't think that. I think you'd need court cases to go by quick for that to happen, and I don't think that they're going to go by that quickly.
What do you think, Coos?
I know where that came from, and I saw the show, and it was very interesting, and it's very possible, but very highly unlikely for that to happen. I think the argument was that Florida State, Clemson would announce they were leaving the conference before July 1. They would go independent for the 2024 season, but you see it's still playing ACC schedule.
Yeah, do you think that's
that would lead to the conference basically losing their TV deal with ESPN because of the I forget what the name of the clause is, but anyway, they would drop below the 14-team threshold at that point.
Oh yeah, what is that called, Justin?
I think it's called the composition clause.
Yeah.
But the problem,
yeah.
You're not finished, Justin. I'm sorry.
No, I am. Go ahead.
I think the problem with them going independent is they still, unless these court cases are over, they still won't control their media rights. They still couldn't market them on the market because unless a court tells them, or there's a settlement before then, I mean, you just can't. I mean, there's a reason why they haven't announced a complete withdrawal yet. Because they don't have their media rights. So I don't know how that changes between now and July 1 if the court cases haven't concluded, or B, there isn't a settlement. So it doesn't make much sense to me. Maybe I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, so the wheels would already have to be in motion already for this to be happening, and you'd think somebody would have leaked it by now, wouldn't they? And
I think so personally.
I think a far-fetched idea, but that could maybe happen, is that 8 schools simply vote to dissolve the league before July 1.
And that's another argument, yeah.
And that way, but even then, it's not.
That doesn't work though.
It's not clear if the grant of rights would go away then, and then you'd almost certainly invite a lawsuit from a Wake Forest or Syracuse.
Right.
Yep.
So. There's no easy way out of this, and if there was an easy way between now and July, it would have been done already.
Yeah.
So I think right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, but right now everything is sort of hinging on this next week ruling about not the composition, but the voting. Sorry, the exposing of special information. Right, the ESPN contract. That's either going to be suppressed and it can't be shown, or it's going to be open season for the schools that want to look into it. Is that right?
Well, I mean, if the ACC, the motion to seal is important, yes, but the most important is probably the motion to dismiss that the judge is currently writing up.
Okay. I had the names mixed up. Okay. All right.
Because if the ACC loses the motion to dismiss, they could refile the lawsuit.
Right.
But then they'd lose the first to file rule that they had in the first place. And so that would be, so if the ACC loses the motion to dismiss and the case is dismissed in Mecklenburg, that's a major loss for the ACC. But if it's not dismissed, I mean, I don't see much incentive for the ACC to engage in any settlement talks because it's not going to get over anytime soon.
Between the three of us, who wants it to be settled? I personally don't want it to be settled. I love this chaos. This is why I do.
I personally, I know I'm an outlier here, but I think
no. You're part of the team. Come on, Justin.
I think the ACC has the stronger legal argument.
Okay.
I mean, it seems. I mean, Clemson argues that if they're not a member of the conference, then they get the rights back, but that defeats the entire purpose of the grant of rights.
Right.
So I don't see much incentive for the ACC to settle. I mean, I think that's how it ends. And you were asking, do we want to see a settlement? I don't know what I want to see, but I don't think the ACC has much incentive because if they settle, they're going to have to settle with 3, 4, 5, and that probably means the end of the conference.
Right. Well, it's a pretty strong argument. Grandan, who's been around, I appreciate you being here, Grandan. $5 super chat says, why did NCSU betray their own interest by voting against Clemson, FSU, UNC? We talked about this a couple weeks ago, Justin. It did seem odd that they voted against it, or just didn't vote for it, and then out of nowhere, I mean, were they given a check? I mean,
Well,
what
put yourself
in
all. I mean, NC State was always the most likely of the 4 to flip their vote, and NC
Right.
State had the leverage. And I mean, and if you look at the financial concessions the 3 made were extreme. I mean, like 30% shares, no shares for 9 years. I mean, those are extreme. I mean, it's not going to make up the gap between the Big Ten and the SEC.
No.
But those are extreme concessions. So, I mean, and NC State also has to think, are we sure UNC is going to be with us if this entire thing blows
Right.
up? So I don't know if they really betrayed their own interests, more so than trying to keep all options alive. And more members of the ACC helps keep another option alive, because more members means a greater chance of the ACC surviving. Does that make sense?
It does. Kuz, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with him. As an outsider, I thought the same thing at first, and the more I thought about it, I'm like, NC State of the 4 schools mentioned, they are the least likely team to land the SEC.
That's true.
Or the Big Ten, in my opinion.
It's true.
So for them, it's almost like ACC,
Or
Big
bust.
12, or bust.
Right.
Big 12 is really more just that's a lateral move that requires you to travel more.
There actually might be more attached. They might come in with a greater valuation that boosts the entire deal. It's possible.
Yeah, they would boost it a little, but probably not enough to me. It would be minimal, probably maybe $5 million a year or something. I mean, it wouldn't be enough to come close to the Big Ten or SEC, right?
Oh no, of course not. No, I wasn't.
Or make it worth the big. Or still, it wouldn't be better than they would still their ACC rather. They would still rather the ACC survive. I think
the problem with that thinking, we'll get to this more. Oh wait, yeah, we'll get back to this comment a little bit. Is when they're given a choice where they want to be, if they do the holdout thing, similar to like Washington State did, especially with their now hopefully leaves Kirk Schultz leading the charge for the Pac-12. They lose their moral authority out in the world. By the end, Kirk Schultz was bending over at the college football playoff time, and that was really sad to see. So NC State, if they hold on and hold out, they might be holding on and holding out to a conference that their overall conference value goes down markedly. It's one thing to come on into the Big 12 and the whole thing's $5 million more. It's another thing to take the value that NC State provides to the ACC and think that that's going to stay together when you lose FSU, UNC, Miami, and whoever else. The value of that ACC contract goes down a lot.
Something that hasn't been talked about back to that expansion vote was that 11 schools were going to vote to admit these 3 without any financial concessions.
Right.
And that would dilute the money pool for everybody.
Right.
And that to me, it was just, I was like, wow, that was really surprising to me. Like Miami was going to vote for this. And if you add more people without any financial concessions, you're going to cut down on your own payout because you have more mouths to feed. But so I think NC State held out for the best deal that they could get.
Right.
And the composition clause thing, back to that again, it kind of ties into it. NC State I'm sure they know about the composition clause, right? And in their mind, they're thinking, okay, if we hold out and we hold our vote no, those 3 schools don't get in, and then next year, Florida State and Clemson do leave, we're done.
Right.
So it was basically a way to keep the conference alive as long as possible without cutting into their base TV revenue.
I'll give you an example, Justin, really quick. Let me interject an idea. The same thought process happened with the Pac-12, talking about maybe getting SMU, right? It was one of them. Boise State, Fresno State. They were trying there at the last to expand, and they couldn't get the votes because Oregon and Washington wanted nothing to do with the
Right.
conference without USC. So that was never, it was in people's ideas. You and I know, Kuz, we looked at these people with crazy ideas about how they're going to rebuild the Pac-12, and there was almost zero chance. It's a non-zero chance answer, a 0% answer, maybe a 1% that ever was going to work, because Washington, Oregon were leaving. So I don't know. I think I find it hard to believe they'll survive after, at least as big as the Big 12.
When USC and UCLA left, what they should have done was they should have immediately expanded with like 2. But I agree with you. I don't think Oregon and Washington were ever truly committed to the idea of staying in the Pac-12 once USC and UCLA left. So it's hard. But I do think Jim Phillips, I do, and people, you're probably going to think I'm crazy for saying this, but I think Phillips made the right decision. You always prefer unanimity, but he already knows in his mind that FSU, Clemson, and UNC are going to do whatever they want to do, regardless of whether the ACC voted to expand. And it's hard to argue that expanding the conference does give it a greater chance of surviving. And that's his job, is to make sure the conference continues to survive. It may not be great odds, but it improves the odds.
And he kept Notre Dame happy.
Yeah, well, I think that's
thing,
actually that's way up here.
Yeah.
The others down here.
I mean, that's more important probably than people realize.
No,
They
I think
call the
100%.
shots.
Yep. No, wait, and they're not even a full member. It's just insane.
They're friends with benefits.
They could save the conference like that.
If they
really
joined
could.
the ACC,
They could literally save the freaking
Yep.
conference. And they care about college athletics now.
Yep.
But they will not join the freaking conference.
If they
So you
joined
tell me how
tonight-
much they really care.
I
If they
agree with you.
joined tonight, the ACC's deal would be renegotiated tomorrow and the lawsuits would stop, but they won't do it.
The
I'm just
value of the
reading
ACC would skyrocket if
Yep.
they became a full member.
Here's a comment from Pat Crow. Justin, Kuz, and Bomber are the one of the few sane realignment guys on the web. Hey, but I thank you. I think Kuz is as well. And Justin's new to the party, but we love having him.
I think that's a compliment.
It is
Yeah.
absolutely a compliment. We don't get a lot of those, Kuz, so we got to highlight them when they're out there. Thank you very much for that comment. Here's this one I wanted to follow up on. Buckshot Kid says 48 school, 4 divisions of 12. The bottom schools in each division play a relegation game that would bring in big ratings. It would. I'll let you guys answer, but really quick, my answer is it would do that. But again, the relegation piece, how does a university is one, it's nonprofit. It's heavily regulated by the federal government. How are they able to go up and then go down? That strain on the athletic department, hell, the whole university, I cannot see a situation where that works from year to year.
It wouldn't. I mean, like, they need certainty, some amount of certainty in their budget, in their, I mean, it would not work.
What do you think, Kuz?
I agree. I mean, I don't really have anything to add to that. It's not like a for-profit company that
Right.
can move things up and down as they need to, and just cut costs whenever they need to. And you know what I'm saying? These are public, for the most part, public institutions.
No, you're exactly right. I'm going to put out a 10-minute timer. We're going to go another 10 minutes talking all these comments that we've got. I believe I've gotten through all the super chats. I'm working now on member and non-member comments. I want to really quick remind everybody, make sure you follow us all on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know how we're doing in the comment section. We actually read those. And yeah, support both these guys where they're at on Twitter. Kuz Corner on YouTube. Subscribe and then turn on notifications so you know when the shows are going to pop up. Daniel Gygax, who Kuz and I both really appreciate, says, I'll take that, Kuz. And with 64 schools, that's 8 4-team divisions. And that's about, in my mind, that's about perfect.
8 team divisions, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say it wrong? I'm sorry. I said it
Okay.
reversed. 64 teams, 8 team divisions. I apologize.
No worries.
Yeah, so 8. That gets
That's
you
a good
to
number.
64. It's round.
Hey, you can play everybody in your division every year.
Right.
You still get 3 or 4 non-conference games in there, so you can play your rivals outside of your division. Daniel, we figured it out, man. Somebody call Gordon Gee and whoever this group is, and let them know we figured it out.
The answer was found here tonight.
Right.
Timothy Green, it's sort of our enforcer in the moderator land. Timothy, you got to get a hold of me on Discord. No more Twitter. Try to get a hold of me on Discord. Join the Discord server, and let's talk about what you can do, how you can contribute. You're a very valuable member of the Mafia family, and don't take it for granted. He says, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much. 3 thumbs up. And I would say that for Coos Corner. And Justin, we're just going to call you a contributor. Is that all right?
That's A-okay with me.
All right, fantastic. Friends call me Sean. Another member says, have a feeling UNC has no problem being in a different conference. Could keep the rivalry going non-conference. Well, there you go. What do you think, Justin?
I think, of course, it would keep up non-conference, but there is nothing like UNC and NC State in a conference championship game. I mean, the stakes are much, much higher. So, yeah, it would keep up in a non-conference game, but it's nowhere near like Duke and NC State or UNC and NC State playing in a game with real implications for the postseason, is what I'd say.
What do you think, Goose?
I agree with that. I mean, I kind of feel the same about Pitt. I miss West Virginia and Pitt being in the same conference.
Right.
We still play them every year, and it's still awesome. But, man, when there were conference title implications on the line, it just adds another level of intensity to the game, and it makes it a little bit more fun.
So let me ask you both a question. I'm going to hide this comment. And thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate you posting that. By the way, Shonsky, if you're out there, tomorrow for lunch, I'll respond to your text. He's been trying to get me for a while. So as a follow-up, what do you guys think about the way Pitt and its fans are basically head in the sand, won't engage? They've known this horizon was coming. For some reason, they thought their ACC was stuck together like the Pac-12. We saw how that worked. Pitt, I liken to the way Utah fans sort of turned their head away and wouldn't even engage about some of these possibilities. And we see what happened with Utah. What do you guys think about Pitt? Is it possible in any realm that the Big 12 takes 4 teams and Pitt isn't one of them?
It's possible. I mean, It depends on what 4 the Big 12 could get. I mean, if NC State was available to the Big 12, I think the NC State would probably be top of the list with Virginia Tech, Louisville, and then Pittsburgh at number 4 would be what I would guess. But yeah, sure, they could be taken. But if there were 4, they'd probably be near the bottom of the 4, though.
I agree. I mean, I'll say this: they're our arch rival, but I mean, when you look at it holistically, West Virginia and Pitt basically share the same television market already.
Exactly.
So you're not really getting. I mean, yes, Pittsburgh they probably carry more of the Pittsburgh market, but Pittsburgh's not a huge city. I mean, I'm not sure it helps you there.
Right.
They don't have a stadium on campus.
Right.
It's a pro football town. I think Louisville, Virginia Tech are much more valuable than NC State because you get that state of North Carolina along with them. You get a brand new market. North Carolina is one of the fastest growing states in the country. I'm taking Louisville, Virginia Tech, NC State, and in my 4th choice, I'll tell you what, I'd probably take Pitt 4th, but Syracuse or Georgia Tech would both be right there as an option too. I don't know, man.
I could not agree with you more, Coos. It's not talked about enough. On this show and other shows on the Big 12 Mafia Network, there's a drinking game. If you're not aware of it, you're new to the channel. Whenever somebody says Georgia Tech, you're supposed to go ahead and take a swig. Please don't drive after you've watched the show, though, if you've been drinking. You couldn't be more right, Coos. I honestly believe there is a chance, just like Washington State and Oregon State, their recalcitrance, they're not willingness to engage with the Big 12 and Brett Yormark. Georgia Tech, huge opportunity. I think NC State, Virginia Tech, and Louisville are fantastic. And then the outlier that we are not talking about, but I was proved wrong, by Wild Ute is Syracuse. Syracuse could come in and get that 4 spot.
Yep, they're
I
more
think
valuable than people
Syracuse is.
realize.
I think Syracuse is really undervalued. I mean, the Orange. I think they're really undervalued.
Right.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
I did
Thanks
an
for bringing
episode
that
about
up,
it as
Coos.
well.
No, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying I did an episode on as well, and they rank much higher than we think in like the blue blood rankings, and
Right.
they have great academics. They get you into New York.
Yep.
Basketball. Their fan
obviously.
base is more. Yeah, basketball.
Yeah.
Their fan base is bigger than you realize.
Right.
They're more passionate than you realize. I mean, there's a lot of positives to Syracuse.
Or you could make the argument in the same regard for UConn. UConn's a G5, but when you compare them to Syracuse or Pitt, from an application standpoint, every league needs teams that are willing to learn and get paid for it.
Yeah.
Lose and get paid for it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Here's a good comment. Daniel Gygax says, can Pitt stand on its own without the backyard brawl?
Nope.
Okay. That's what I thought the answer was. What do you think, Justin?
Probably not.
All right. We're going to move on to a comment.
But I'm
or an
biased,
article.
so
You are. Let me get this comment out of the way. Where now is it? I apologize. The banner is still up. There we go. In the comment section. What the hell? Okay, I'm struggling here.
what are you trying to find?
Trying to turn off this other. There we go. I couldn't find it.
Oh.
This is the last list. I'm going to post the link to this. This is in reference to the Super League stuff we've been talking about mostly the whole show. This is a link to an article that actually is the results of the Super League attempt that was done in England and in Europe all at the same time. I'm talking schools. It's basically like Ohio State, Michigan. There was only like 20 teams in all of European football. Barcelona, let's see, Bayern Munich, Liverpool, Arsenal, like 20 teams that dominate the numbers in soccer. Again, read the article and it'll tell you it died in 4 days. The thing died in 4 days because people picketed. They turned in their tickets. They burned, turned over building. I mean, it was incredible. So I posted the link to it in comment section. I appreciate everybody reading it. And then we'll be talking about it more. I've already got it bookmarked. We're going to come back to this because I think it's a really big deal to counter this idea of a Super League right now in the timing. All right. We got time for a few more comments. I want to get out of here before everybody gets tired. Let's see here. John Long, new to the show, says super greed is right. Yeah, that's a good one. Daniel Kopcha, a member, says, could we have the Godfather, Flugar, Coos and Big 12 Mafia game for the Mount Rushmore of college football realignment? What do you think about that, Coos?
I'm honored, man. That's pretty big praise right there.
I could not. Oh my gosh, I'm blushing. You can't see it under my Seahawks gear. Daniel, you are an amazing guy. Obviously, all 4 groups, you've put a lot of time in. We really appreciate you. All of us do. Yeah, I'm still sort of taken aback by that comment. Thank you very much. Let me get to any more. Was there any other super chat? No. Let's see. I already did this one. Right? What did King's? Tell me which comment.
King Spleen is the second one from the bottom. Third one from the bottom now. I'm
looking. Oh, right here.
Yep.
Response to Greg Ganoush. That's a great name, by the way. King Spleen's a member. Says, do you think a 13-0 big champion would be left out of the CFP? Absolutely not.
No, not happening.
It's no freaking way.
Even if the quarterback was hurt.
All right, that's awesome. That's great. Touche. Good job, Coos. All right, we'll go with one more comment. We're going to get out of here. Same 8911 SK. Is that a name? Can you guys small Sam? I can't do the letters, the transposition. Good to have you here, Sam. Anyway, ESPN makes more money moving 4 schools to the Big 12, saving $10 million a year per school. So taken away from the ACC, going to the Big 12. Sam is saying ESPN would make more money. Have you guys heard that?
on the surface, that sounds right, but you got to remember they need inventory for the ACC network.
Right.
I think
Exactly right.
I think ESPN values the ACC. I mean, I think that they like having the ACC as it's currently constructed, at least. And I think even without Florida State and Clemson, they would. But ESPN alone doesn't make these decisions. Schools would make the decisions, and if there's panic, they're going to go to wherever the nearest lifeboat is.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic comment. Really quick, I'm trying to get my Discord link. One other thing I'm going to give you guys to talk about, and then we're going to get out of here. Let's see here. Everybody keeps posting 500 comments. It's hard for me to get through. Devil Frog, the first guy that I talked Mafia with way back in the day, says ESPN will save money by consolidating inventory. That's something I've been saving for a long time. What do you guys think?
They need a lot of it. I know that. They have a lot of channels to fill.
Could that be behind the scenes what their goal is here and all this?
Well, of course. Absolutely it could.
Maybe. I mean, it's a conspiracy theory, but
look, I think them and Fox coordinate everything, in my opinion. I really do. The CFP, the division of time zones and stuff, I think
you think they do on realignment too?
Look, talk about conspiracy theories. It's way up here, right? Yeah. Really high level. But at some point, these guys are in the media business. They have seminars, they have conventions, they do other things. It's hard for me to believe what is it? Bellotti? No, whoever's the Petiti. And is it Swarbrick? No, Swarbrick is Notre Dame. Is it Swarbrick?
Swarbrick's Notre Dame. You're thinking about Sankey, maybe?
Sankey, yep. Sankey and Petiti running into each other in the bathroom. As odd as that sounds, that could happen, right?
Yeah.
Or superior, their underlings can do it.
Wasn't there an article that came out a couple weeks ago talking about how ESPN wanted Texas in the SEC?
I think this whole thing started out
and kind of helped make that happen to a degree.
Oh, you mean from the beginning?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that right there to me is proof. Assuming that's accurate, is proof. I mean, we remember Bowlesby was going to sue ESPN for tortious interference.
Right.
Because he said that they basically facilitated it in his mind.
Yeah, that's.
And then the article comes out, 2 years later, saying that they basically did to a degree, or they at least sweetened the deal enough to make it where it would happen, right? And which they can do, and probably do it legally. There's probably a way they can legally do that, right? They can. Right. They can move numbers around and do something over here for somebody, to make it all work. And so who's to say they're not doing the same thing with Florida State, Clemson, and eventually other teams down the road? UNC.
I think Florida State for sure has the landing spot. I know they can't do the tortious interference. It's not official. There is no invitation waiting to be given, but I think they know they've got a parachute. Otherwise, they never would have done this. No matter how mad they were.
These people talking back channels. The school doesn't have to talk directly to the conference.
Right.
A booster can talk to somebody they know who works.
Yes.
Who's cousins with the commissioner. I'm just throwing out. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a direct conversation. And if the school reaches out to the conference first, conference didn't start the conversation, therefore it's not their fault.
You guys, this has been an awesome show. I really appreciate you coming out.
It's been
fun. We're gonna cut out a little early from our normal 2-hour show on Bomb3r's Hit List on the College Football Mafia Network. But what we are doing is we're going to an after show, and that's going to be on Discord. It's open to everybody, not just members. I'm going to post the link. In fact, I'm going to post the link right now. You will have to create a Discord entity, a presence there. Just create an account. It's really easy. Email and a couple, emails back. It's done. And come join the after show conversation. Click that link and join our Discord server, the College Football Mafia Network Discord server tonight, right after we end. I can't thank you guys enough. Coos, Justin, thank you so much for coming on.
Great meeting you, Justin.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you. Go Pack.
I love it. Everybody else, thanks for having a great night, or joining us and having a great show with us. Please stay out of trouble. Follow us all on Twitter. Subscribe on our different shows and enjoy your Wednesday evening. Everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you later, and peace out.
See you.